I love your home already, and I haven't even seen it. Does that sound crazy? It's not. When we improve our surroundings, we simultaneously empower ourselves, which means every inch of space within your reach right now is an opportunity to tell the story you want to be living. Tell me that's not its own kind of wonderful. I have spent the last 15 years consulting clients and their homes through the wisdom of feng shui, intentional design, and some crystal clear communication. And you know what happens when you bring those three together? Life-changing magic. Your home is already in a conversation with you, so why not learn how to merge that awareness with some simple, straightforward, and smart action to co-create the life you want? I'm Amanda Gibby Peters, and I am here to help you learn how. Welcome to House Therapy. So today we're going to talk about space clearing. And when I say space clearing, what I mean is this intentional, energetic, deep cleansing ritual that we often turn to dislodge any unwanted, lingering external energy. So just like you can keep a clean home or desk, you know that things often happen during the course of the day, that sometimes morphs into the course of a week, and these spaces are going to require a little bit of maintenance to get back to clean, right? Well, energetically, our homes need regular, quote unquote, dusting too. And that dusting is to remove what we pick up in the world and bring right in the door with us. So that can be the stressors of the day, any media that we engage with, conversations that feel like they went sideways, maybe gossip or criticisms or arguments. Maybe there's something we're obsessively worried about. Shame, any of those feelings that we can experience multiple times, really, in any given day, and then over the course of the time we're in a home, those are the things that our homes need a regular cleansing from. As well as it's a good idea to space clear a home so that the previous owners or tenants and their energetic imprints aren't mixing in to your world and having an influence. So let me just say, no house is immune from needing this. Everyone has energetic dust bunnies. But to really get that unwanted energy out of our space, there's something that we have to do first, and that is clean. And I know cleaning is such an impediment to the idea of this process, but I want you to think about this. Yes, cleaning is exhausting. Yes, there is usually something else we'd much rather be doing. Cleaning often demands patience, and sometimes it can devolve into having to make decisions like what stays, what goes, and if something is staying, where does it go? But the process that I see often winning out is, well, I have this desire to feel different, and I think if I clear the space, that experience is going to become more likely. So I'm going to buy something that I can burn and smoke out all of this, energetic gremlin. And then when nothing changes, or maybe change starts to look like it's happening, but then reverts right back, there's a really strong expression of confusion around what went wrong, or more acutely, why it didn't work. So here's some truth. The energy that we are trying to clear, transform, or restore is going to reside with what remains untouched. And if that is clutter or chaos or confusion, it's going to deplete what your energetic cleansing did. In fact, I would even say in most cases, the energetic cleansing always works. The splinter, however, which is whatever problem or feeling you were trying to lighten or remove, it's still in residence, right? It's in the clutter, the dust, the assortment of untouched things, the boxes of postponed decisions. It's in our resistance to physically cleaning and clearing our space. Another side effect that I think people don't think about too is that sometimes we clean energy, and if we're not mindful about deliberate sprucing and setting intentions, we could, in fact, potentially amplify whatever energy lingers, right? We cleanse the space and then we leave the things that have been there in the driver's seat to define that freshly cleaned space, right? They get their fingerprints on that space first. So if you're getting lukewarm results, or it seems like nothing significant is changing after lighting up, I'm going to tell you clean first. Even if it's just a quick cleanse, it will make such a big difference. And then when you're ready to smoke your home out, I want to share a few insider tips and techniques that will absolutely leave you and your house with a gorgeous afterglow. Now, for the ease of our conversation today, I'm going to assume that you're working with something smoky. There are many tools out there that are not smoky, and I share a lot of those over on my blog. So definitely check that out if you're curious about alternatives. But, whether you have a sage bundle, lavender, eucalyptus, rosemary bundled, maybe even have a combo or something, or today's situation, we're going to work with my favorite, frankincense. I want you to think of this template from that perspective, okay? So the reason that I love working with smoke and so many of my cleanses is because it not only moves unwanted energy along, the idea or belief is that our intentions and requests and wishes sort of come out of us and they follow the smoke up. And then it's believed that the guidance or answers or direction to solution, if you will, follow the smoke back down to us. So keep that in mind. And on that note, let's talk about a few things to consider before you light anything. So the first thing I would suggest is when you're going to do an energetic cleanse, a space clearing in your home, you want to power down your devices. The idea here is this is going to power up your connection to the energy, the higher consciousness, whatever it is you want to call it, that you are looking to have assistance from. So I turn my phone off when I'm doing this for a client, but if you can't do that, at the very minimum, please do not have it on you, and please do not be checking your socials or email while you're doing this ritual. The second thing that I will suggest is if this is your home's first cleanse ever, like to your knowledge at least, don't skip the closets, the garage, the storage nooks. Like, listen, if it's part of your square footage, it's definitely part of your home's DNA and you want to cleanse it. And if it is your space's first clearing, then open the cupboards and drawers too. Now, just as a side note, you're not going to need to open the drawers or cupboards every time you do a space clearing, but if this is your home's first time, this is a really great way to efficiently give it a really good deep cleanse. Okay. The third suggestion is instead of just lighting up and wafting smoke everywhere, I want you to start to break up the energy, and specifically in the corners of rooms. So corners in general collect energy. So in my early practitioner days, the way that I would break up any congested chi, anything that we were trying to encourage to move along, is I would rub my hands together to create an electromagnetic charge. And then I would just start clapping the corners of every room. And I would do this starting at the front door and then working my way around a home or space clockwise. You just clap. I'm going to do this up the corners of every room. You don't need to get into the drawers or the cupboards to do this. The rooms, garages, closets, those kind of spaces are all great. If that feels too abrasive, and again, this would be more size, house size specific. If clapping your hands feels too abrasive, then there are alternatives. You can ring a bell. You can shake a rattle. There are other tools that you can work with. And again, I have a bunch of that stuff over on my blog. But the bottom line here is that you want to loosen up the energy first. And then if you're working again with a smoke cleanse, you want to do that second. So after you clap and agitate the energy, rinse your hands and your arms to eliminate any clinging energy, negative chi. Okay, now you're ready to light things up. So this is really important to think about before you actually step in to the day of the cleanse, if you will. Decide what it is that you're cleansing. Figure out what your intention is. And then on the day, you're going to take a few minutes to center yourself. You're going to set an intention, and then you're going to call forth, whether you want to call it unconditional love or assistance from the spirit realm. You want to call in support. Something that I did not know in my early days that I wish I had is this. It is so important when doing any sort of space clearing that you source energy instead of depleting your own. Now, I know when I say this in classes, it always throws people. And so I want to lean into two kind of footnotes here. When I was new to this practice, I would just waltz into a home or a business. I would do my space clearing. I had this little template I followed, and I would come home. And I thought it was just normal to come home, shower, and then just collapse. And literally, I felt for several days that I needed energetic rehab. Like I was just so wiped out. And as I think about it all these years later, I get it, because I was just going into homes or, again, businesses, warehouses, whatever. And I thought, oh, I'm just cleansing the space of the people chi buildup, right? But actually, what we're doing is we're cleansing the chi of any experiences that have happened in or around that space. And that's a lot. And so it does require some stamina. Now, when I heard, okay, source energy instead of depleting your own, I pulled straight in and said, okay, how do I do this? And when someone's like, well, call on your spirit guides, your light helpers, whoever your cosmic dream team is, I was like, what? But then a few crazy things happened. So I'm going to share one story with you so that you feel and understand that this isn't something you need to force. So we're going to jog back many, 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 many years ago. And this was about the time that my girls, I would say they were in kindergarten. So that tells you how long ago. I was working with this holistic health practitioner. And again, it was particularly to help my daughters. They had a lot of health struggles. They were born prematurely, and so they seemed to always get pneumonia, come fall, stretch into the spring. And so I had decided to pivot into more holistic approaches and, solutions. So my practitioner, her name was Chris. Our conversations would sometimes veer into more, let's say, mystical directions. And there was this one time that Chris said, someone's in the room with us, and her name is Pearl. She wants me to let you know that, and that she's always with you. And I was like, who is this Pearl? Are we talking Janis Joplin Pearl? I really just had no idea. And like so many things that happen in my life, I took that conversation with a grain of salt, because I thought, well, I've never heard the name. So unless it is Miss Joplin, this is one of those one-offs that sometimes can happen in energetic work. And I eventually forgot about the whole thing. But a year later, I'm driving down the tollway with my mom, and the conversation turns to relatives, and she just casually mentions a great-grandmother, and she's like, oh, Pearl adored you. That was a jolt of electricity, and it was also the founding moment of my spirit guide posse, if you will. She was the first member of that source that I would call on for clearings. Now, since then, I've added a few more members, and the stories around how they came into my life are just as random, if you will. But the point here is this: you don't need to force this. Rather, I would just say stay open to the possibility. And if something or someone shows up and it feels like this is an energetic assistance, lean into it. Because now I can tell you, I don't feel the slightest sense of fatigue cleansing any space. All right. So let's get back to our template. So you've called on source to help you. So the next thing I want you to do is, before starting, go to your front door and ask permission to proceed. I know some people think this is unnecessary. And, I tend to be like, well, asking permission is usually a good idea. But here's another quick story. So I once asked a home if I could cleanse it. And I did get a strong no. And it was kind of weird because it was just like, no. And I was like, really? But out of fear, I'm human. I was like, I don't want my client to judge me. I don't want to disappoint my client. I don't want to not get hired again. So I'm just going to ignore it. Like, I don't think that this is really no. I think it's a soft no. But it was a pretty big cleanse that I was doing. And so I'm in the middle of it when the son comes rolling into the house during the middle of it with all of his friends and some, high drama from school. And I immediately understood, the house has been trying to help me out. And we actually ended up having to reschedule the cleanse after all. So had I just heeded the wisdom, it would have all made sense, right? And isn't that the truth of it? Intuition often asks you to make a choice before logic appears. So once you sense yes, and usually you will, you're going to light your medicine, your sacred smoke stick or your frankincense, whatever you're working with. And you're going to start at the front door and you're going to circle through your space in a clockwise direction, wafting the smoke in all the corners of each room and in the direction of the cupboards and drawers. And you kind of get the idea, right? Now, I now work with feathers that have been gifted to me over the years, but in the beginning, I just worked with my hand, directing the smoke out and upward, okay? Once you're done going through the space, you want to extinguish anything that's still burning. So oftentimes if I'm working with an actual stick bundle, I will have a little glass of water that I can put it out in. If I have resin, then I have something that I can sort of stamp out the charcoal and the resin with. This is also a good time for me to note that a really great way to efficiently work with those smoke stick bundles is to break off some of the leaves or the herbs that you're working with and put those in a burn safe dish. And then you don't have to necessarily worry about cutting off what has been burned on the smoke stick. If you don't want, you can kind of just eyeball what you think you're going to need, put that in your burn safe dish and come back to the bundle another time. Another thing that you can do is buy smaller bundles. Again, this is just around being respectful of the medicine, working with what we need and not calling in more. Again, a lot of this information is over on the blog. So if you want to learn more, you can check that out. Okay. So now you're finished with the smoke cleanse part. So you want to rinse your hands and your arms again. And then I personally invite my clients to go back through their space, their home, and often working off of the Bagua or the Feng Shui map, I invite them to set new intentions. So it is so important whenever we cleanse or clear, and keep this in mind, even if you're purging clutter or clearing your closet, it is so important that we deliberately replace what we've removed with something positive. And I think intentions are a perfect way to land this. When you're done, thank your spirit guides for their help. And a teacher of mine shared this with me, so I offer it to you as well. I deeply appreciate your guidance, wisdom, and the work we've done together. Thank you for helping me make this shift. Our work here is complete. Okay. Finally, and this is also really important, make an offering to your space. Splurge on fresh flowers, maybe buy a new doormat or a candle, just something that suggests the chi has been changed for the better. This sweet conclusion does a couple things. It acknowledges the spiritual realm for their help. It gifts your home a little TLC. and it expresses gratitude for all the good things that are now coming your way. And just like that, it's another episode wrap. A million thanks for being here and listening today. And if you're not quite ready for this conversation to end, come find me on the gram. I'm at Amanda Gibby Peters, or grab a copy of my book, Simple Shui for Every Day, available at Amazon and Bookshop and anywhere you get your books. And if you want to work with me, check out simpleshui.com for all the ways we can make that happen. Cheers to marvelous week, sweets, and I hope to see you back here in a week. Until then, give that house of yours some big love for me.